Winters are gone and it's spring now in Canada, but in Sault Ste. Marie is still a lot of snow. I am in one of the park in Sault Ste. Marie and snow is not melted yet, but still it's a spring season. And if you recognize, it's a skiing rink in the park, and you can see some ground there. Snow is melted there, and in few days all snow will melt and there will be a big green grass park. And for those people who don't know where I stay and those people who came new to my channel, I stay in Sault Ste. Marie, Canada, and if you see behind me, that's USA. So there are two Sault Ste. Marie, one in Canada, one in USA. Sault Ste. Marie is also known for its own PR program, which is RNIP. So in this video, I will be discussing about the overview and eligibility for RNIP. Just to give you some information about myself, so I have applied for RNIP in Sault Ste. Marie and I got the approval from city, and post that I have applied for federal and it's about 1.5 months. I have applied for myself along with my wife and daughter, and after 1.5 months I have received the confirmation for biometrics for my wife. And just for your information, 14 years and younger children do not need biometrics. So my daughter is 3 years old and she is not eligible for giving biometrics. So I keep you posted on my RNIP process in my future videos. So RNIP process is two-step process. First one is to get the approval from the city and second from the federal. Having said that, both have different eligibility criteria. Federal have its own requirements and city have its own requirement. City's requirement may vary from different city to city. For example, there are 9 or 10 RNIP programs running throughout in Canada for in different cities. So each city can have different requirement, but federal requirement is common for all. So let's see each requirement one by one. For that, we have to go to my laptop. Let's check the federal eligibility criteria first. So this is the official website. The link is in the description if you want to check out. You have to answer a few questions to check the eligibility. First one is, have you already applied for community recommendation? So just say yes. As I mentioned earlier, this is a two-step process. So first step is to take the letter from the community, take the approval from the community. Then you have to apply for federal. So in this case, say yes. Then definitely you are going to apply after November 16th, 2022. So select this. And here are the eligibility criteria. So here I'm going to cover main eligibility criteria, which most of the people will be impacted. First one is work experience. This is very important and many people have doubts and questions in this section. You should have 1 year of experience, to be specific 1560 hours in last 3 years, which includes part-time and full-time both jobs, and which also include one or more different occupation with different employers. For example, you can be into IT, you can be into construction with different companies, which all are included. And the hours must be over a period of at least 12 months. That means all these hours should not be in 12 months. It should be more than 12 months. And it also include the work you done outside Canada. And what does not include is where you have not get paid, like volunteering job or unpaid internship, will not be included in these hours. And if you are self-employed, that are also not included. I recommend everyone to read in detail, like everything. I'm just taking and picking up few points which are more relevant to everyone. And here comes the interesting topic, international students. So if you are an international student and you studied in Sault Ste. Marie, then you are exempt for showing the work experience. So you don't have to show the work experience if you have studied in Sault Ste. Marie and have fulfilled these criteria. So what are these criteria? You should have 2 years of program or more, which include full-time student over 2+ years, and you are applying for RNIP within 18 months after your completion of the program, which means that after completion of your studies, you have 18 months to apply for RNIP. After 18 months, if you apply for RNIP, you won't be getting exemption from the work experience. You have to show the 1 year of experience. Last point is you have to be there in community for 16 months or more in your 24 months of studies. And this is the one of the important criteria where many people have confusion in this. So I'm going to read it for you. To be exempted from the work experience criteria, your program of study needs to be at least 2 years long. You cannot add together two 1 year programs to meet the work experience requirement under this exemption. That means you should have one program whose length is 2 years and more. Two 1 year programs will not fit into this exemption. It doesn't mean that you are not eligible for RNIP. You are eligible for RNIP if you have two programs of 1 year, but you won't get the exemption for work experience. So, in case you studied in the community for 2 years and two different programs for each year, then you have to show 1 year of experience. You won't get exemption in the experience. And similar guidelines for master degree as well. Also read the other information which is there. Now we will see the language requirement. That means English or French test. So if you see this table, this will show you which type of job require which type of bands. So these are not the IELTS band, these are the CLB bands. So CLB bands and IELTS bands are different. If you want to see the comparison between CLB and IELTS band, you can see in this table. So for tier 0 and 1, you require CLB 6. For tier 2 to 3 jobs, you require CLB 5. And for tier 4 to 5, you require CLB 4. And it is very simple to get. It's not a high requirement for the language test, so it is very easy to get at least a CLB 6. Now we are going to see the education requirement. Education requirement is very simple. So you should have either Canadian degree or ECA. So if you are an international student, you must have a Canadian degree. So you do not require ECA or WES. So WES is one of the organization who do ECA. So you don't need ECA if you have studied in Canada and you have a degree. And for those who have not studied in Canada, they can produce ECA, and WES is the one of the reputed organization who do ECA, and you have to submit that for RNIP. Now we will discuss about the settlement funds. So settlement funds vary on the basis of number of family members. Before clicking on this link, just read these two sentences carefully and click on this link to check the amount. Again, you have to answer a few questions after 22. So here is the table. Also, I will share you the checklist. So this is the checklist. You will see this checklist in my future videos. So this is the checklist to apply for federal. So if you see here the proof of funds topic, and if you see the note, it says that you are not required to provide proof of funds if you are already working in Canada with a valid work permit. So in my case, I have a valid work permit and I'm working in Canada. I don't have to show the proof of fund. But for those people who are not here in Canada or they don't have valid work permit, they have to show these amount as per the family members. After settlement fund, it's intended to live in the community. So you should plan to live in the community. And these are the communities for RNIP. And having said that, so I am in Sault Ste. Marie and I have applied for Sault Ste. Marie RNIP. So I'm going to discuss about Sault Ste. Marie RNIP. So these are the websites of these communities. This is the RNIP page for Sault Ste. Marie. And if you see right here, it says RNIP pilot has been extended until February 2024. That means that this program is only until February 2024 and you are planning to apply for RNIP, you have to act now. Also, it doesn't say that it's going to end in February 2024. It might be extended, it might be cancelled or stopped, or it might be made permanent. We don't know. So if you are eligible and you are ready, just apply your application. Let's scroll down and go to applicants. And here are few information mentioned. So please make sure to read this information if you are belongs to these two categories especially. So it says this tier will reopen end of each quarter to a maximum of 5, which include these two tiers. Also, with respect to security guard supervisor, you can read this information. So whenever you go to this page, just read the information what is there on the top. And if you scroll down, you can see the processes or steps required. So first step is to meet the federal's requirement, which we seen just now. And second step is you should have a permanent employment in Sault Ste. Marie. That means you should have a employer who supports RNIP, and you should have a permanent role, which means that you in your offer letter there should not be a end date. Also, your employer should fill and give you this form. This is one of the document required for RNIP to apply for city. And there's the another form which is filled by you and submitted to the community. We will see the all documentation later, but first we will see the community requirement. City requirement is a point-based system. So let's quickly check the points. So to be eligible for city, you should have 70 or more points, and 55 you will get from your job. So if you have a job in these knocks, you will get 55 points. There are 38 knock codes which are required by the city. And if you see the note, it says that applicant with a job offer not listed above will be considered only at the discretion of the community recommendation committee, which means that you have a job which is not listed in these knock codes, but you can apply for RNIP, and committee will decide to take your application or not. It is very good point for those people who have job but are not listed here. And if your age is between 18 to 36, you will get 6 points. From 37 to 47, you will get 3 points. And if you are over 48, you will get 2 points. So there is no age limit to apply for RNIP for Sault Ste. Mary's. If you are even 60, you can apply for RNIP. Third point is work experience, and that has to be there in priority knock. That means the knock listed above here. So if you have 2, you will get 2 points, and if you have 6 plus, you will get 10 points. You will get extra 8 points if you have worked 1 year full time in Sault Ste. Marie. And if you have studied 2 plus years in post secondary institution, you will get 6 points. 1 year, you will get 3 points. So if you own the property in Sault Ste. Marie, you will get 8 points. And if you are staying on lease, you will get 4 points. And if your immediate family members are staying in Sault Ste. Marie over 1 year, you will get 10 points. And extended family members are staying in Sault Ste. Marie minimum for 1 year, you will get 5 points. And definitely you have to show the proof of relationship. So below points are for the people who never lived in Sault Ste. Marie. The applicant has visited Sault Ste. Marie for at least 5 nights within past 3 years and met with at least 2 employers in their line of work during their visit. Then you will get 8 points. Applicant has an authentic knowledge of and interest in the recreational culture, lifestyle activities found in Sault Ste. Marie. You will get 5 points. And below 2 points are with respect to spouse or common law partner. If applicant's spouse have a valid job offer in the priority knock, you will get 10 points. Or spouse or common law partner have at least 2 years of work experience in the priority knock, you will get 5 points. And spouse or common law partner have English or French language skill like IELTS test or French test category, you will get 5 points. So these are the eligibility criteria for city. So if you have a job offer, you will be easily eligible for city. Let's come back to processes and step. If you are eligible for RNIP and when you are ready, you can click here and apply for RNIP. These are the documents that you have to provide to the city for your first step or taking the approval from the city. Those are your resume, your English test results, ECA. ECA is not required if you have studied in Sault Ste. Marie. So if you have studied in Sault Ste. Marie, you have to give your certificate or completion letter, and you have to give your work permit. And this work permit should be approved work permit, not on implied status. So you cannot apply for RNIP when you are on implied status. Implied status means you have applied for work permit, but the decision has not been made on your work permit. So to show you are staying in the community, you have to show rent lease agreement or the ownership of the house. You have to show the proof of work experience. It can be from Canada or outside Canada. You can also include few documentation which will help your file. Those are reference letter or recommendation letter. For example, if you are volunteering in some job, you can ask the employer to give you recommendation letter or the reference letter. You can also take the recommendation letter from the person who is already staying in Sault Ste. Marie. They should have status like citizenship or PR holder. These documents will build up your case in front of selection committee. Also, I want to highlight few things which is on this page. Definitely please read all the steps in advance before applying for RNIP. If you scroll down, you can see few details here. Eligible application will be retained for 1 year. Applications will be reviewed by the Community Recommendation Committee on a monthly basis. And here is one important thing. If you do not hear from us within 6 weeks, then it is likely you are not being considered. So when you have applied your application and you have not received anything from the city within 6 weeks, that means they have not considered you for this time. In next video, we will see how to fill the application form, which is 5911E. That is it in this video. So I have covered main topics for eligibility criteria for RNIP. Everyone's scenario and case are different. So make sure to read eligibility criteria for federal and city by yourself in detail. If you have any questions, you can write down in the comment section. I will try to answer all of them. And coming back to beautiful Sault Ste. Marie, I am near to Roberto Banda, and also I'm near to my workplace, and that's my office building. I'm signing off now. I'll see you in next video. Till then, bye bye, take care.